Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, I'm here to talk about my goals. If you are new here, my name is Laken and I am on a mission to help you achieve your goals. And one of the ways I do that is by sharing my personal goal journey with you. So every month here on my channel, I check in with my Cultivate What Matters power sheets. This is my goal setting planner. I have been using this now this is my 4th year and it has absolutely changed my life. This tool changed my life. And so every month I sit down with you and I share all about how last month's goals went and all the goals that I have set up for the upcoming month. And this is our first official check-in of 2021. Obviously, I shared lots of videos in December at the beginning of January, how 2020 went, what my overall 2021 goals were, and then of course what my January 2021 action items were. And we're gonna go through those. I will say January was good. It wasn't a 100%, but I would probably give myself an A. There were definitely some goals that I excelled at, and then there were definitely some goals that I struggled with and will be carrying over to February, but that is always the case. I don't think ever in the history of me using the power sheets have I had well, I know I haven't had a perfect month, but I really don't think there was ever a month that I didn't carry something over. There was never a month where everything got done and I was content with how it was done. Okay, so let's start with the monthly action items. The first one is one that is getting moved to February, and that is to come up with a list of date ideas. One of my overarching 2021 goals is to solidify my relationship with my fiance, and one of the action steps I was planning to take in January was coming up with a list of date ideas. If you watched my Moxie Life setup video, I did set up a notes page in the back of my Moxie Life planner where I plan to put these ideas, but I didn't actually get around to doing them. Part of the reason that this goal did not get done is I was planning to do it in the car when we drove back to New York from Chicago. I figured we're in the car together, this would be a good place to work on that list and to talk about date ideas together. But to be honest, I had something else on the list to do. I had multiple things on the list to do in that car ride. But when we finally got going, when I wasn't driving, I didn't want to be working. I didn't want to be working on goals. I didn't want to be thinking. I just wanted to relax. So I didn't worry about it. I decided that that was something that could easily get moved to February. And I made that decision like right when we got back to New York, like January 18th. So if there is a point in your month that you're looking at your goals and you're like, there is no way this is all going to happen, it feels so good to go ahead and say, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and move that thing to next month, and then just take it out of your brain space. All right, the next monthly action item was to work on playlists, and I did this and I shaded it all the way in, but I actually did it in a different way than I originally intended. So I had this plan that I was gonna create all my own playlists. I was gonna create a morning vibes playlist and a dance party, and I do have a dance party playlist, but I was planning to add to it and perfect all of my own playlists. And then I realized there are already a lot of really amazing playlists and Pandora and Spotify stations out in the world. I don't need to go making my own. So instead, what I did was I cleaned up. So I use both Pandora and Spotify, and I use both of the free versions. So the reason I like Pandora is that there are some stations on Pandora that I've been working on since like high school. That's how long Pandora's been around. Like there are some stations that I started a long time ago, and I've thumbs up and thumbs down, and I really like that station and what I have created. So I cleaned up my Pandora by deleting all the stations that I randomly started at some point that I'm not interested in, and then I added a few more to my, like that other people had started to my list of some of those themes that I wanted to have playlists for. And then I did the same thing on Spotify. I went through all my Spotify playlists that I've created and I deleted the ones that were old or things that I wasn't ever gonna go reference, and then I went and added playlists for these different vibes and times that I want to be able to listen to music. And I'm really excited about that, and you will see how I am utilizing that organization in February. All right, the next one was another goal that I just pushed off to February, and that is my One Little Word project. If you are not familiar, One Little Word is a personal development / memory keeping project hosted by Ali Edwards, where you pick a word of the year and you do journaling and memory keeping related to that word. And I'm all signed up and ready to go, but it just didn't happen in January. I knew it wasn't gonna happen until we got back to New York because all of my supplies were here. But then once we got back here, I just had so many other things that I was working on that I knew it was just gonna get pushed off to February, and that was totally fine. All right, the next monthly action item was to set up my Plan with Laken budget, and I did that. I think I did that actually technically at the end of 2020, but shaded that all the way in. The next one was to hire and then get set up and onboarded with a tax expert, and I did that. I'm so excited to be working with her, and I have all my, stuff sent in, and then now as January's been going on and I've been getting various income statements isn't the right word, but my W-2 from my full-time job, and then the various 1099s from PlanwithLaken. I've been uploading them to her system, and it's felt so good to know that an expert, not that my mom was not an expert. If you watched the goals video where I talked about these action items, my mom is a CPA, but somebody who specializes in online small businesses, I'm very excited to be having her do my taxes this year. All right, the next monthly action item was to finish preparing for the online course that I am starting in February. I never know when someone says like it launched, like does it launch the day that it goes on sale, or does it launch the day that it starts? Regardless, it starts Monday, February 1st, and as of the time I'm filming this video, I'm not quite done with all the course prep that I wanted to have done by February, but I decided to go ahead and get filming out of the way first today, and I'm planning to finish that this afternoon. The next monthly action item was also related to the course, and that was to hit my course sales goal. And as of the time that I'm filming this video, I also have not hit that sales goal, but I am very optimistic that in the next 48 hours before the doors close that I will be able to hit that sales goal. I know that a lot of people wait till that last minute. They wait till they get that like last second, doors are closing, sign up now or forever hold your peace message, and then they will have signups. It happened with my patrons, so I released the course a week early to them with a discount, and that last day was like a ton of people signed up. So I am anticipating, hoping for the same situation for regular course sales today and tomorrow. So fingers crossed that I get to shave that one all the way in. All right, the next monthly action item was to finish setting up my personal budget, and I did that. I also think I may have wrapped that up in 2020, but I have that all situated and squared away. The next one was to create an apartment spreadsheet, and I did that, and I've already started filling it in with a couple of apartments. It's still a little early to be looking here in New York when we're not looking to move for another 2 months, but I created the spreadsheet that has all of the priorities and the questions that we want to make sure we know the answer to, either by looking at the apartment or by talking to either the broker or the landlord or whoever. So we have that all squared away, and we kind of have a knowledge of what our deal breakers are and what are the nice to haves. And really at the end of the day, there's not going to be a perfect apartment. Like that is just that I don't know if that's a New York thing or if that's an everywhere thing, but my experience here in New York is you're gonna sacrifice on something, and it's either gonna be location or price or the floor of the building or one of the amenities. Like one of the apartments, everything's great, but it doesn't have a bathtub because it's upgraded, which is a huge pro. Like everything is stainless steel and everything's pretty, but it's a standing shower because apparently that's what people want, except me. One of them, everything is great except the 4th floor walk up. We're debating if that's something that we would live with. One of them, everything is great, but it doesn't have a dishwasher. So it's just knowing what the trade-offs are, and I have that spreadsheet all set up so we can compare all of them. And then the last monthly action item is the last one that also got pushed to February, and that was to get all of our recipes organized. I see a theme here. Well, at least between one little word, organizing the recipes, all the monthly goals that could not be done until we got back to New York just didn't happen. Because by the time we got back, there was just so many other things. And it's not like we've been doing anything or going anywhere, but this one also didn't happen. I think also I've been kind of playing like almost a survival mode with meal planning and meal prepping and keeping it as simple as possible. And so I don't need the recipes to be organized yet because I've been doing Home Chef and one cookbook. So I don't feel the need to have the recipes organized. Now, the reason that it is shaded in slightly is because I started to organize recipes on my iPad for digital recipes. I used to have this vision that every digital recipe that I really liked, I would print it out and I would stick it in a binder. Well, that's great, but we live in a small space, and the less stuff that we can have, the better. And so for digital recipes that especially if I haven't even tried them yet or liked them, they need to be digital. They need to stay digital. So I have organized a folder on my iPad that has different folders within that, you know, for crockpot recipes or dinner or breakfast or all the different categories, dessert. And then when I see a recipe or I hear an influencer talk about a recipe, really mostly it's the Braun family. They talk about recipes all the time. The Lazy Genius also has a lot of great ones. I can save that PDF and save it into that folder in my GoodNotes app on my iPad. So I did that, I set that up, and that's why I shaded it in a little bit. But the bigger piece, which is organizing all the recipes that I have here, maybe getting rid of some cookbooks, maybe taking pictures of the PDFs or of the printouts and uploading them to my iPad, that's the part that I still need to do and got pushed to February. All right, the weekly action items. So the first two were related to an online course that I was taking, and this one also kind of got derailed coming back to New York. I started out very strong. I attended the live sessions, I did all the homework, I was on top of it. And then it kind of trickled out. And there's a lot of reasons why that didn't happen, but I did a good chunk of it and I still plan to finish that course. I'm just a little bit behind. The next item was to track my Plan with Laken budget once a week. I did this way more than once a week. I also have tracking my personal budget as a weekly action item once a week, and I did that more than once a week too. I just like doing it more regularly, and I haven't decided yet. So first off, it's not an issue. Like the fact that it was in my power sheets, I did it was great, good job. But what I'm trying to figure out now is should I do what I'm good, like what feels good, which is the routine of checking it almost every day, updating the transactions, making sure everything balances out, and calling it a day? Or am I doing it too frequently and spending too much time on it, and really I should only be doing it once or twice a week? That's one thing that I kind of need to figure out. I do think that it's helpful to do it every day because it takes way less time, because then there's like one or maybe even no transactions, and so it's so much faster. Whereas if I wait to do it once or twice a week, but I don't know. And then the last 2 weekly action items were related to my nutrition coach that I started working with, and that is to have my call with her and then to do any homework that she gave me, and that went very well, and I just am so thankful for her. That is definitely the best thing that came out of January. Okay, moving on to my daily action items. So the first one was my social media limit, and to be honest, this felt worse than it looks. Like I'm looking at the number of check marks and it looks better than it feels. It felt like I didn't do a good job. I feel like I still spent way more time than I wanted to on social media, and probably because the days that I didn't give myself the check mark, it wasn't like I went 5 or 10 minutes over. It's like I hit the limit at 3 p.m. and said, screw it, I'm not worrying about the limit. So that one I'm definitely carrying over to February, and I'm not actually gonna end up lowering it. We'll talk about that when we get to February. The next one on my daily action item was to read, and this one I did a really good job of. 2 days, only 2 days of the entire month did I not read. One of them was the first of the month, and one of them was the day that we drove back. Like, that's it. Every other day I either read once or sometimes twice. I would read in the morning and at night, and that just makes me so happy. The third daily action item was to light a candle every day, and I'm so glad that I put this on my power sheets. This is one of those habits that's like, it's not that big of a deal. Like it wasn't a thing that really was gonna move the needle in terms of my goals, but man, lighting a candle every day, especially when you're spending all day at home, just makes me so happy, and it's using up the candles, which, you know, we have a lot of. All right, the next daily action item was to plan the night before, and this one was pretty good, kind of like the social media one. It wasn't perfect, but it was pretty good, and I know that this makes a difference in my productivity when I plan the night before. This one I am not carrying over to February, only because there were other things that took more of a priority, but it does not mean that I'm going to stop working on it or trying to do it every day. Same with the candle. I am still going to be trying to make sure I light a candle every day. It's just not going to be in my power sheets. And then the last 3 were all related to my losing weight goal. So the first one was to get my water in, and I feel like I have been crushing that. I mean, there's a couple days that I didn't hit it, but like, this is out of water. I need to go fill this up because I have been drinking a lot of water and it's just been working. And I know, like, you hear all the benefits of water, all the benefits of drinking more water, not even just from a health standpoint, but like your skin and just so many other things. And I just am so glad that I made that. I made that my top priority for January too, and it worked out really well. The next daily habit was to track my food, and this is a tough one for me because in the past I have always struggled with being a perfectionist when it came to tracking my food, and if it wasn't the perfect measurements, like I didn't weigh the food or count the grapes or any of those things, then I felt like I was failing at tracking. And I think we're carrying it over to February, but I think I've gotten over that. I think I have finally let it sink in that there are still benefits and there's still value in tracking my food, even if it's not exact, even if it's close-ish. And so even if there's something that I make, instead of measuring out all the ingredients, sometimes I just look in the app for something close. Like, even if it's not exactly, and I have the ingredients in front of me, it's just not worth the effort. And as long as I'm close-ish, that has been good enough for me, which is just a complete shift from every other time in my life that I've tried to track food. And so I'm using an app called iTrackBites, if you haven't heard of it. I just like the interface better than MyFitnessPal, and I like that the macro totals are on the front page, like right when I open up the app. And since that's what I'm focusing on right now and not calories, I really appreciate that setup. Which brings us to our last daily habit, and that was to hit my protein goal. And this one was probably, actually looking at it, the worst of all my daily habits, but man, even the days that I didn't hit it, I still probably had way more protein than I was having before. And that is such an important thing to remember. Even the days that I didn't hit my water goal, it was probably more water than I was drinking of before. Even the days that I went over my social media limit, it was probably less than I was doing before. And that is progress. That is what we're going for. We're not going for perfection. I talked about this recently in a weekly vlog. I think we've overused the phrase progress, not perfection, and it doesn't have as much of a meaning to us anymore. And so what I have been trying to refocus and say more is, it's not perfect, but it's better. What is better about my routine and my protein intake and my water and all the things that I've been improving, even if it's not perfect. All in all, I am very proud of how January went, given everything that's been going on, given that it was, the first month in a new year, which does come with a lot of motivation, but it also comes with a lot of pressure. But as always, I'm also excited to turn the page to a fresh, brand new tending list and talk about my February goals. So starting with the encouraging words for February, the quote that I wrote down this month is, happiness is not a goal, it is a byproduct. And this is a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt that I got from my motivation app. I have an app on my phone. It's literally just called Motivation, and it gives me inspirational quotes all the time. And when I saw this one, I immediately screenshotted it. I loved it. I made it the cover photo in the Patreon Facebook group. I was just like, I love this quote. I also was very inspired by somebody I saw on Instagram, either right before or right after I read this quote, who lost almost 200 pounds. And she posted a story about how a frequent question that she gets is, are you happy? And she's like, that question implies that I wasn't happy before. She goes, am I happier? Yes, because I'm healthier and I feel better, but it doesn't mean that I wasn't happy before. And I think that that is such an important thing to remember too. Just because we're working on our goals and we're working on ourselves doesn't mean that we weren't happy. Like, I'm not happy just because I have goals. I just am getting happier, and happiness is a byproduct of working on my goals. And then my top priority for February is to focus on the online course that I am teaching in February. And I tried to keep February simple because I knew I had a lot going on with the online course, and it's only a 28-day month. But yet I still have a lot of things on this page. But some of these things are, like I said, carryovers or not time-consuming things, and you'll see what I mean. So let's start with the monthly action items. The first one is a carryover, and that is to do the date ideas list. The second one is also a carryover, and that is to do my one little word for January, and then the next one is to do my one little word for February. I have a little secret about one little word, which is one of the other reasons I haven't started it. I'm thinking of using a different word. So the word trust that I ended up picking for my goals, I still feel a connection to. I still feel like that word is really important when I think about my goals. I need to trust myself. I need to trust the processes. I need to trust my goals. But when it comes to my one little word and that journey that I want to go on with it, there's another word that keeps jumping out at me, keeps jumping out in books and in quotes and in my mind. And it's just I'm not going to tell you what it is yet because I haven't fully decided. But somebody in Patreon asked and thought about doing the same thing. And when I saw them ask about it, I was like, oh, I think I'm feeling the same, and I think I'm going to do the same thing. So that's the other reason that I kind of have been putting off doing the January project, but that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. And so I'm hoping to get January and February done this month. The next one is to do my 2020 tax prep. Even though I have a tax expert helping me now and I've been uploading all of my income statements to her, I still also have to get all my expenses organized. And I'm doing a much better job this year, like 2021, doing that as I go so that it won't be so crazy at the end of the year. But I didn't do that for 2020. So I need to go back and do that. Although I think 2020 will be a little bit less stuff. I mean, I didn't travel and I feel like I had less expenses than I normally do. But I need to go back and get all that organized. All right, the next monthly action item is related to my financial goal, which it actually doesn't really have anything to do with my quarterly goal, but it's financial related. And that is to update my recurring donations. So I have quite a few monthly recurring donations to various organizations set up. And what I'm thinking of doing is I want to reevaluate first what the total amount each month that I want to donate. And then I think maybe once a year, I will go in and look at the organizations that I'm donating to, and not that those organizations probably still couldn't use the donations, but I want to spread the love. And so I think what I'm going to do is reevaluate and maybe keep some of them, but then maybe change some of them up and do another set of recurring donations for the next year and then reevaluate them again. I think I know that it is much more valuable to set up monthly recurring donations than to send one-time donations to organizations. And so I like doing it that way, and it's much easier for me to budget for on a monthly basis. But I want to make sure that I am revisiting them on a regular basis. So this is my 2021 donation check-in. All right, the next monthly action item is apartment related, and I wrote it down even though it may or may not happen in February, and that is to find a new apartment. It still might be a little bit early in New York, but I am putting it out in the universe that we are going to find a new apartment and sign a lease in February. It would just feel so good for that piece of the puzzle to be done. And then the next monthly action item is also related to that, and that is to make a moving plan. So once we have the apartment, then we can plan what weekend we're gonna move, book the movers, start ordering supplies, and then make a plan for packing and what that's gonna look like and all that stuff. And last time I moved 3 whole blocks in the same neighborhood. And my mom came and she helped me with the packing. She would pack while I was at work, and it was so nice. We don't have that same luxury this time. No parent is coming to help us, and we are going to be moving much further than 3 blocks. So it's going to be much, like, it was easy for us to go back and forth in the apartments and move small stuff, or like when we had to go back and clean it, like it was just so easy in that apartment. And this one, definitely, it's gonna be more of a process. So I want to start making the list and make a plan, knowing that it could change, right? The plan may not be set in stone once we start acting upon the plan, but I at least want to do a little bit of research and have some kind of plan. And then the last monthly action item was, again, the carryover of organizing the recipes. All right, weekly action items. So the first one is related to the relationship goal, and that is to have one night a week that is an us night. And I didn't put date night because I think that when we call it a date night, it gets so much more pressure. And I think that it feels like it has to be this whole thing. And so I put us night with the mindset of, I just want it to be about us. I want us to put our phones away. I want us to do something that's a little bit different, not just sitting, eating dinner and like watching an episode of something. I want us to do something different, and I want it to be about us. So we're gonna talk about potentially, we've talked about already, maybe picking one night a week that is like, that's our us night, that one night a week. But with Sam's schedule, and even with my schedule, that's sometimes really hard to stick to pick one actual weekday and let that be the same weekday every week. So I don't know, we still need to talk about it, but my goal in February is to start that, because that's something that I want to make sure that we continue forever, but maybe. Let me know down in the comments if you have been in a relationship for an extended period of time. Is this something that you do regularly? I know that my dad and stepmom, this is something that they have prioritized since they got married 20 years ago. And so I kind of want it to be something we start now and continue forever. Okay, the next weekly action item is my course notes, and that is for Plan with Laken, for the online course that I'm teaching. All that I mean here is that each week after I teach the live course, I want to make sure I go and I take notes of things that I thought about while I said, things I want to change about the PowerPoint for next time, just all of the things that are going to be in my head afterwards, basically. And I could just wait until the month's over and do it all then, but I know that I'll do a better job if it's fresh in my brain right after I finish teaching that lesson. So the goal is to do it every single week, and that is why it's a weekly action item. The next weekly action item is related to moving, and that is to take one bag to Goodwill every single week. We actually live within walking distance of a Goodwill, which is very convenient. And so instead of waiting until it's time to pack, what I want to do in February is once a week, basically what I want to do is I actually want to start a pile in the corner of our barn. We've actually already started it. So we have this box from the Costco delivery that we got a few weeks ago, and it's a pretty big box, and I just want it to stay in the corner by our front door. And every time I see something in the apartment that I'm like, that's not moving, that is going to Goodwill, I want to put it in the box. Like, if it's not being moved, why do I have to wait until we're packing to get rid of it? And then when the box is full, I want to put it into a bag and take it to Goodwill. And the goal is to fill up that box and take the bag to Goodwill once a week in February. All right, the next 2 weekly action items are related to losing weight, and that is to meal plan and meal prep. It is something that I've done all of the one Sunday since we've been back in New York, and I'm planning to do it the day after I film this video, but the goal is to do this regularly every single week. Meal plan, go grocery shop, meal prep. I know that it is better for our wallets, and I know that it is better for our health if I do that and we're not ordering in all of the time. And then the last weekly action item, this is one of those action items that doesn't necessarily take more time. I mean, it might actually take more time, but it isn't something I'm going to have to schedule into my calendar, if that makes sense. So that is to hit 40,000 steps each week. If you watched my last weekly vlog, I talked about how my nutrition coach is encouraging me to up my steps. And while the ultimate goal would be to get 70,000 steps a week, which is an average of 10,000 steps a day, and that's what you're supposed to be getting, that's really hard right now. When I am not going anywhere and it is really cold outside, it's hard to get 10,000 steps a day. It just is. And so I was only getting like 25 to 30,000. And so instead of jumping all the way to 70, as awesome as that would be, that's really unrealistic to go from 30 to 70. So this week that I'm filming this video, I made, she actually helped me make the goal 35,000. And then in February, the whole month of February, the goal is gonna be 40,000. And I'm gonna stick with that goal, which is an average of about 5,000 to 6,000 steps a day, which some days is gonna take work. It might take time because I have to go for a purposeful walk and I need to keep an eye on where my steps are. Now, the good news is I can always catch up on the weekends, right? If I'm only still doing my 2,000 to 3,000 average per like weekday, and then we get to the weekends, and then I do have to do 10,000 each day on the weekends to play catch up. That math actually doesn't work out. I probably would have to do more, but you know what I'm saying. That is why the goal is a weekly goal and not a daily goal, because then it's so much easier to get down on myself on a day when it's like yesterday was really cold and I just wasn't going for a long walk. And so I only got 2,000 steps yesterday. Well, today it is nicer out and it's still kind of cold, but it's sunny and not as windy and I can easily make up for those steps. Okay, not easily, but you know what I mean. Making it a weekly goal makes it a lot more likely that I'm going to be able to hit it than if I were to do it every single day. Okay, the daily action items or habits. It says /habits. I kind of like that because I mentioned before, some of the daily action items are things that you want to continue on and want to be habits, and sometimes it's just something you want to do every day for a month. But before we talk about them, in case this is your first time watching one of my goal check-ins, I want to make sure to say it again. I do not think that you should have 7 brand new daily habits every single month. That is intense and unsustainable most of the time. So that can be very overwhelming and very hard to maintain. Most of my daily habits are things that I'm carrying over from prior months, something that I'm already doing that I just want to track and have accountability to continue to do it, or something that is going to take 2 seconds. So just keep that in mind. That is how I have all 7 filled up. If you only want to do one brand new habit and focus on that one habit and have one thing in this section, I think that that is awesome as well. Okay, so the first one is to check in with my tending list. And this is something I'm pretty good at because it sits on my desk and I can see it all the time, but I want to make sure that I'm checking things off every day because I think the act of like actually checking it off and looking at it every single day really brings me back and refocuses me on my goals. The next one is taking advantage of all those playlists that I organized in January, and that is to listen to music every day. I am so guilty of trying to multitask all the time and listen to podcasts or watch YouTube videos all the time while I'm doing other things. Like I always feel like I should be catching up on my podcasts or my YouTube videos. Now, it doesn't help that I'm very behind on them because normally I watch or listen to those while I'm commuting, and I haven't been commuting for almost a year. But I do think that it's beneficial for my brain and my mental health for me to listen to music instead sometimes and just enjoy good quality music. And so at least once a day, I want to make sure that I'm spending time listening to music. It could just be one song that I dance around to. It could be hours upon hours while I'm working. But either way, I get the check mark. But it's something that I'm going to prioritize in February. Okay, the next daily action item is a carryover, and that is to stay within my social media limit. And I'm not decreasing it. I talked last month how my goal was to do a good job of staying within it in January and then lower it by some amount in February, and I just don't think that I'm ready for that. I don't think that I'm ready. So I'm gonna keep it the same, and I'm gonna try to do a better job this month of staying within it, or if I do hit it, not just letting myself have like a free-for-all and I could just stay on it for the rest of the day, to actually like still try to keep it within a reasonable amount. I'm almost thinking now that I say that out loud that I should write the total hours somewhere. Like I should track that. I already have a new idea for the monthly calendar, which I'm going to tell you about at the end. That would be a really good place. You know what? I could still write it there. Maybe I should. Oh, but then I might have to share that with the world, and I don't know if I'm ready for that either. So to help me with that, my one sort of like big new habit this month is to spend at least 1 hour a day using the Forest app. If you've never heard of the Forest app, it's one of those like gamification apps that tries to help you with productivity. So basically what you do is you pick a set amount of time, and you get to pick the amount of time, and then you have a tree or a bush or some kind of plant of some kind. It grows on the app, and you can't click out of the app or it dies. Like, you have to leave the app open on your phone, and so you can't click out and go to other apps. And so I want to spend at least an hour a day using that app in that way. I know that that seems a little extreme, like you can't go an hour without picking up your phone, but like, no, there are times that unless I am really focused on doing something like my Patreon lives for 2 hours and I'm not picking up my phone, or I'm filming a video, you know, then I don't pick up my phone for an hour. But most of the time, if it's just a regular day, no, I pick up my phone at least once an hour. So the goal is to set it for an hour and not open any other app. Okay, the next daily action item is to check in the online course Facebook group. This is probably something I was gonna do anyways, but I added it to my power sheets just to make sure that I check in with it every day. And then the last 2 daily action items are both carryovers from February, and that is to track my food and hit my protein goal. And none of those goals are changing. I'm not changing any of the numbers. I'm just trying to continue and do the same thing that I did in January because it's working. It definitely is working. I'm not like the kind of person that's ready to like boast and tell you about the numbers on the scale, but I will tell you that I'm very proud of the progress that I've made in January, both from a number on the scale perspective, but also just from a mindset perspective and thinking about food and thinking about protein and goals and water and all of the things. And so I'm excited to continue that in February. Okay. That's a lot. Before we wrap this up though, I want to share with you how I am planning to use the monthly calendar. So last year, the 2020 version of the Power Sheets was the first version that had the monthly layout. And last year, sometimes I used it and I shared that with you, and I would use it to map out my goals, and sometimes I wouldn't. At the end of the day, mapping out my goals like that was redundant because then I would just go put it in my Google Cal. I'm better off just sitting down with my tending list and my Google Cal and setting it up that way, which is exactly what I will do when I'm done with this video. So in January of this year, I didn't use the monthly calendar for anything. And then on our Patreon Zoom call last month in January, this month, somebody asked for ideas on how to use that calendar. And somebody made a suggestion that I absolutely loved, and I am completely stealing it, and I'm so excited. So what I am planning to use it for is to track every single day, what goals did I work on that day. So I went ahead and set it up, and I added the page flags of all 6 colors for all of my annual goals, and then I rewrote my annual goals next to those page flags. And then every single day when I check in with my tending list, that kind of is also why it's a daily goal, I will go in and I will add stickers in the colors that match those goals. And I haven't decided yet if I'm gonna use the dots or the hearts, or I might just use a random sticker because I have so many Cultivate What Matters stickers and they're all in the same color scheme. So say for example, I do a workout that day. I don't necessarily need to get the blue dot or the blue heart. I just have to get a blue sticker, any blue sticker, and stick it on that day. And at the end of the month, I'm gonna see all the colors and all the stickers, and I don't know, I'm really excited. I think it's a good idea to feel like I'm making progress, to see where I'm making progress, as well as use up all of my Cultivate What Matters stickers. So I will let you know, obviously, at the end of the month in next month's video, how that went and if I'm going to continue it, but I'm really excited to give it a try. All right, that is it. Those are all the goals that I'm gonna be working on in February. I want you to let me know down in the comments, what is one thing that you are proud of from the month of January? What is one thing that you accomplished, big or small, that you are proud to check that off and have made that progress? And if January didn't go the way you planned, that's okay. February could be your fresh start. March can be your fresh start. There is still so much time left to make 2021 amazing. Even with everything going on in the world, you can still make progress on goals that are important to you. And so I hope that you don't let anything that did or didn't happen in January keep you from focusing and making that progress. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much for watching. Happy planning. In this goal, hit it, what? In my Moxie, January and farewell? I don't think that's the right phrase. Actual week of the night? What? To pick one action. I umped it.